Hey guys, Prowl1701 here, and today we're going to talk about a couple Cybermen stories, and they're consecutive Cybermen stories. Revenge of the Cybermen and Earthshock. Two great, fantastic Cybermen stories. It's interesting how the 70s, being such a strong decade of Doctor Who, only has one Cyberman story. If you think about it, there's only one Cyberman story between the Invasion and Earthshock. And Invasion's what? 68, 69, and Earthshock's what, 82, 83? So you got about a 13, 14 year gap here with only one Cyberman story in between those. It's interesting because the Cybermen, like a lot of classic Who villains, like the Daleks, the Master, they're kind of overused a bit in modern Who. And to be honest, sometimes they could be kind of overused a bit in classic Who, when sometimes you just got a bunch of them in succession. I mean, we had a bunch of Cybermen stories just in the Troughton era, and a bunch of Dalek stories in the first 4 seasons of the show. So I'm not saying it never did that, but you'd also have those long breaks between those. And so for such a strong decade of Doctor Who, with 2 strong doctors and great writing, to only have one Cyberman story. Granted, great Cyberman story. I love Revenge of the Cybermen. I know some people don't really get into it, but they're wrong. But my thing is, I sit down, I remember a long time ago, a while back actually, I thought about doing a video, and it was going to be called Why Revenge of the Cybermen is Better Than Earthshock. And it was going to be a video of me explaining to people exactly why Revenge of the Cybermen didn't get the credit it deserved, and Earthshock got the credit it deserved, but perhaps a bit too much, and why Revenge of the Cybermen should get that credit. Before I did that, I rewatched both stories, and by the time I'd finished Earthshock, I was like, well, crap. Because I had to sit there and go, Earthshock's the better story. Because it just is. I like Revenge of the Cybermen a lot, but Earthshock just is a better story. It just is. And I was stopped and think about that, because in some ways, on paper, you figure Revenge of the Cybermen would have the advantage. So why is Earthshock regarded as well as it is, whereas Revenge of the Cybermen doesn't always have the best reputation? Don't get me wrong, I know several other people like me who think it's a good story, an underrated story, but there are people out there who find it perhaps the weakest story of Season 12, which is a strong season in its own right. Part of the Hinchcliffe era, after all. Why is one regarded so highly and the other one not so? What is the difference? Because on paper, Revenge of the Cybermen has more going for it if you start thinking about it. It has a better doctor. I think that's a subjective statement, to be fair, but I'm pretty sure most Doctor Who fans, if they were ranking their doctors, the 4th Doctor is going to be higher than the 5th Doctor. That's not true for everyone, but I do think a large majority of Doctor Who fans, it would be. I think the 4th Doctor would be placed some degree higher than the 5th Doctor. Revenge of the Cybermen has better companions. You have Sarah Jane and Harry, who I think, especially with Sarah Jane, would rank higher than Nyssa, Tegan, and Adric. Now, personally, I rank Tegan higher than Harry, and maybe even Nyssa. I like Tegan a lot, and Nyssa. But, of course, I rank Sarah Jane higher than them. So you have arguably better companions. You have some wonderful location filming in the mines for Revenge of the Cybermen. There's a little bit of location work at the beginning of Earthshock, and then the actual work inside the caves looks pretty good too. I mean, I do believe that's actually a set, but it looks really good. But the work they do in the caves looks really good, because Doctor Who actually had a little bit of budget left over, probably for the only time ever in classic Doctor Who, and they were able to shoot in location in caves. And it looks good. It really carries over. So it has those advantages going on for it. Revenge of the Cybermen not only has a great A plot, but also a really good B plot, with the internal struggle going on the Vogan planet, where the one Vogan's trying to take over the other. I like that subplot, that B plot with them. Also, I like their mask a lot. Their mask that the Vogans wear is a really good work. Where there's not much of a B plot, really, with Earthshock, other than giving us some good camaraderie with Adric leading up to, of course, Adric's death. Spoilers, I guess. So there is some really tender moments between the Doctor and Adric there. I guess that could kind of be a B plot, which if so, those both work. And the more I think about it, I'm like, why is Earthshock considered better? And now immediately some of you will be like, well, Adric dies. And yes, that's definitely part of it, because a companion death in Classic Who is so rare. Now, granted, it happens so much in the modern series where companions die, sorta, or they die but somehow still get their happy ending, like every time. That it kind of become old. It kind of is old hat. But Adric's death, because Classic Who rarely did that. I mean, you have Adric and Katarina, and then almost Perry, but not quite Perry. Which I'm glad they retconned that. So I do think the death of Adric adds to it. But for me, Adric's death isn't the reason so much as part of the main reason. And there's one thing I think that sets Earthshock above Revenge of the Cybermen. And I can sum it up into one word. Epic. Earthshock just feels epic. It has this very epic feel to it, this grand feel. It's this story that's struggling past its budget. It is using its money very well to get its story across, especially the updated effects, because Earthshock does have updated effects from the DVD carried over to the book set, and it's not even a whole lot of updated effects. The updated effects do give it that little extra punch, though, like the laser weapons have updated effects. You know, Prowl likes those a lot. And then, of course, the updated effect of the ship actually crashing into Earth instead of just exploding, which makes way more sense, also adds to it. But even without the updated effects, it still has this epic sense of scale to it. Earthshock does a really good job of convincing you that there's a lot of Cybermen on this ship that are slowly waking up, when, of course, Classic Who budget, there can only be a few of them on camera at a time. It still does a good job of giving a sense of scale of how many Cybermen there are and the threat there are and the mission they're trying to accomplish in destroying the Earth. And of course how epic it is, it ties into that's the meteorite asteroid that killed off the dinosaurs and caused human beings to become dominant over the planet anyway. That's epic how that ties in with actual, with our actual history of the dinosaurs dying off and us going along. Whereas Revenge of the Cybermen doesn't quite have those stakes, because it's not about Earth, which is something we can more gear towards because it's our planet, where here is more about Vogon being destroyed. It is about a planet being destroyed, a planet the Cybermen have a grudge against. Really, the plot to Earthshock is basically the plot to Revenge of the Cybermen, just on a more epic scale. It's the same plot. Destroying a planet the Cybermen have a grudge against. Of course, Vogon they have a thing against because that's the planet of gold, and the Cybermen weakness is gold, which is, yeah, that's a naft idea. That's a very naft idea, let's be honest. Revenge just doesn't quite have that sense of scale. I love it. Tom is great in it. I love how snarky he is with the Cybermen, and you're just a bunch of soldiers skulking around in a old tin can spaceship or whatever it is he says. I love that line. We will be rulers of the cosmos. No, I don't think so somehow. I love how Tom's not having any of their crap. I love it. But even Davison has that wonderful speech about how important emotions are, and those little things are what life is all about. It's a great speech. I like that. And then how he can't save Adric. I do like at the beginning of, I think it's Time Flight, he can't go back and save him. I did like that they carried that over in the Time Flight with the Doctor not being able to go back and save him because of Time Law, Time Lord laws of time. I like that. I think the biggest problem with Revenge of the Cybermen is there is a planet-sized plot hole in it that you have to just overlook. And that's when the Cybermen are attacking the Vogon planet, which they want to destroy because it's the source of their weakness, gold. And the Vogons are helpless to stop them because they're using weapons that aren't gold. It makes no sense. Why are the Cybermen here to stop us? We're the planet that supplies their weakness. What's that? Gold. Well, what are we going to do to stop them? Let's keep firing these weapons. Well, they're not working. What are we going to do? I don't know. None of them think, let's get some gold. You can get a slingshot and a gold coin or a gold nugget. It'll work, trust me. I've seen Silver Nemesis. It makes no sense for them not to just utterly crush the Cybermen if you're the planet that supplies their weakness. It's ludicrous. And I love Revenge of the Cybermen. And even I have to admit, that's one of those things you just kind of have to gloss over and keep going. Also, the updated effects for Revenge of the Cybermen help that story some too. I do absolutely love when Tom's having to dodge the planet with the space shuttle and the Nerva beacon and land it back up. I do enjoy the updated effects for Revenge a lot. I mean, both stories have good sets. I love the Nerva beacon set a lot. And it's a nice familiar set from the Ark in Space, which I'd seen when I was little, so I felt right at home being back there. Great way to save money there, using the set twice at different points in time, in canon-wise. And then I also like the sets for the spaceship on Earthshock. I think both sets look really good. I just feel like the main thing separating them is Revenge of the Cybermen has that giant plot hole you have to gloss over. And the fact that everything just feels on a higher scale with Earthshock. It has a more epic feel to it. The stakes feel higher because the planet in question is Earth and not just an imaginary planet. It's Earth. That's our planet. So we have more of an emotional connection to it. And Adric's death also has an epic ending feel to it. And of course the credits, those closing credits add to that too. So I think that's why. And then the fact Earthshock had that epic episode 1 cliffhanger where it's revealed it's the Cybermen because it doesn't have Cybermen in the title. It's not Earthshock of the Cybermen. You know, so you don't know the Cybermen are coming back. And it's been 7 or 8 years since we've seen the Cybermen. So getting that cliffhanger right at the end of episode 1, I'm sure there's a lot of people. I actually watched Seska Says review of that recently. And she loves the Cybermen. She loves the Cybermen. Just loves the Cybermen. So when she saw that reveal at the end of episode 1, she was... and I was like... I was waiting for that because I knew she was going to love that. And that's the reaction you get with... the Cybermen. I can't imagine what that must have been like in 82, 83 when that originally aired. And people haven't seen the Cybermen since Revenge of the Cybermen, and they didn't really do reruns back then. And they actually got to see the Cybermen again. I could just imagine the bum ba da bum bum going on. That had to be cool. So yes, I will say that as much as I like Revenge of the Cybermen, I might even prefer watching Revenge of the Cybermen. That if I was to be objective, Earthshock's the better story. Simply because of just the scale of it. Despite its budget limitations, it has a sense of scale. It is a story that stretches beyond its budget very impressively with its guest cast, with its laser effects, with its costumes, with its sets, with its little bit of location work. It is definitely one of the shining jewels of classic Doctor Who. So I want to know what you think and which one of these stories you like better and which one you think is objectively better and why. Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. That would certainly be appreciated. I want to give a shout out to Colin Coney, one of my top tier patrons. I appreciate his support as I do the support of all of my patrons and YouTube members. It's very much appreciated. I have links to the Amazon wish list down there, links to the Amazon UK wish list down there as well, and my P.O. box is also down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. Most importantly, thank you for watching.